to Rise and Publication Skills program organized by the Lex Gazette Academy in collaboration with the Faculty of Law, Vivekananda Global University, Jaipur. Today's session focuses on a very significant theme, building a strong research framework. A well-structured research framework is the foundation of any impactful academic work, and understanding its nuances is essentially a very inspiring scholar. We are deeply honored to have with us our distinguished resource person, Dr. Dhayananda Murthy, CP. He's a distinguished, very warm welcome, sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Murthy, sir, is a distinguished legal academician and a research with over 25 years of experience in teaching, research, and academic leadership. Sir, currently serving as Associate Professor of Law and DPIIT Chairperson at Damodaram Sanjivayya National Law University. In short, DSNLU, Visakhapatnam. Sir has held various pivotal roles, including Director of Academic Affairs and Research and also Registrar. His educational journey is marked by excellence, earning second rank in both his BA LLB from Vardha Law College, Mysore University, and LLM from Bangalore University. Sir further has advanced his academic pursuits with a PhD from Sri Krishna Deva Raya University, focusing on copyright issues in the digital media landscape. Dr. Murthy's illustration career includes teaching appointments at prestigious institutes such as Gujarat National Law University, the National Judicial Academy, and ICFAI Business School. Sir's contribution to legal education are extensive, encompassing curriculum innovation in corporate law, intellectual property law, insolvency law. His pedagogy is categorized by experimental learnings using case studies, role play, and real-world problem solving to cultivate critical thinking and professional competence among students. A prolific research, Dr. Murthy has authored numerous books, research papers, chapters in reputed national and international publications. His research primarily explores corporate governance, intellectual property rights, commercial law, with his paper presented at leading global conferences in Singapore and the United States of America. Beyond academia, he has served as a policy consultant, contributing to landmark initiatives such as the Gujarat Private University Act, Andhra Pradesh Regulation of Fisheries and Aquaculture Bill. He has successfully supervised multiple doctoral and postgraduate dissertations, mentoring emerging scholars in diverse areas such as corporate insolvency, intellectual properties, and international commercial arbitrations. His involvement in various academic councils, board, and professional bodies underscores his commitment to institutional and academic growth. Award at the M.K. Nambiar Faculty Program, reflecting his pursuit of pedagogical excellence. In addition to his vast academic and research credentials, Dr. Dhayananda Murthy CP serves as an esteemed advisory member of the Lex Gazette Academy, where his vision and scholarly guidance continue to inspire the Academy's mission of promoting research-driven legal education. Sir's mentorship and intellectual leadership have played a vital role in shaping innovative academic initiatives, fostering an environment of critical inquiry and interdisciplinary learning. Sir's enduring dedication to advancing legal education and search continues to inspire students, researchers, colleagues alike. Sir, just a minute, because we are very blessed that you joined as a guest. So, with the last concluding remark, like marking him as a pillar of an academic excellence and a beacon of integrity in the field of legal scholarships. We look forward to an engaging and insightful session that will enrich our understanding of academic research and empower us to strengthen our own research pursuits. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all being here. Thank you all from Lex Gazette team. I believe that my presence will make feel that it's necessary to study how exactly the legal research is to be conducted. Himanshu sir, can I just, I want to share the PPT. I don't know whether it is visible or not.
Sir, it is visible.
Visible, but when I change, it is not changing.
Okay, so let me fix.
Just see that up, huh? So that it is visible for you people.
So it's presenting from your side actually. So you need to change the slides from your end.
1 second, Appa. Let me check it. Has it gone to the second slide?
No, sir.
That is the problem. I don't know. In Google, Meet, you have a problem.
Sir, actually, you need to present it again. You need to show.
Hanappa, tell me.
Okay, so now start presenting and share your entire screen, sir.
Okay, entire screen. Okay. Then,
Okay, now click on that screen and start sharing.
okay. Now, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Is it changing?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, fine.
Right.
ठीक है. Thank you so much, Manchu sir. Okay, my presentation may be around 1 hour 15 minutes to around maximum of 1 hour 20 minutes. I'll try to accommodate you people here because I don't want to stop you for dinner. Right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, every participant here. And I also thank personally Yash Pratap sir for inviting me for this particular workshop or a virtual program here on research and publication skills. My duty today is to speak something about research design and methodology. Right? Whenever we start our research, basically I'll be concentrating more on legal research because legal research is today not just the legal research because it's a multi-disciplinary research today. I'll be highlighting some of the issues relating to social economic perspective of how a legal research can be done. Now, as we know, when I speak of legal research, it is said that Doyle, speaking something about knowledge, said, knowledge begets knowledge. Now, when a particular knowledge exists, what do you mean by begets? It speaks about that once you have knowledge, in addition to your contribution to the knowledge, actually it promotes, enhances comprehension of a particular or in addition to that particular knowledge, which is already existing, right? That's what, when we say knowledge begets knowledge comes into play. Now, as we all know, Einstein spoke something about knowledge and experience. He says, when you speak of knowledge as experience, I think that's what is everything about knowledge, right? And he says, otherwise, everything is information. It's just an information. So you should experience knowledge, right? That is what, when he says that, when you experience the knowledge, then only you will come to know that what is the power of knowledge here. Francis Bacon says, knowledge is power. So basically on that line, if you look into the exact position of what knowledge is, experience means you have knowledge through experience. That's what we have to look into. And similarly, Odell and Grayson in their book, they say that knowledge is an information in action. Now, when they say that knowledge is an information in action, you can understand that it just cannot stay static. It goes on, moves, develops. Every time when you create a particular knowledge, there is another knowledge which comes into picture there. So knowledge is an information in action, basically. Now, when I speak of search for knowledge, now when you go for searching a knowledge here, it must be a systematic attempt. Now, for what you do a systematic attempt? For identifying some truth or some reality, correct? So when you want to gain knowledge here, you are speaking something about identifying that there is something existing, a truth which exists or a reality which exists. Remember, you may conceptualize an idea and go to do research, but your conception was that there is no problem in this particular issue. But when you really entered into the knowledge sphere, you understood there are a lot of problems existing in that society. Okay, so it's a systematic attempt to identify the reality or a truth. That's what research is all about. So when I speak on this point, the human endeavor is always to see and understand what is the evolution of a particular issue, the environment in which the issue existed, and how the growth has taken place. When I say growth has taken place in reference to social and legal perspective, you see that society is dynamic, it's not static, right? So your evolution, the environment, and the growth of that particular issue will actually give you pursuit of identifying more knowledge and better knowledge for yourself at every point of time, right? That is how you have to look into as legal research is concerned. Now, when I speak of legal research, is the PPT changing upon? Himanshu sir, is PPT changed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, fine. Appa. Now, when it comes to legal research, and if any questions are there, please put down your hands, or raise your hands, or you can just come in and ask me a question, please. Right? Don't see that I'll be speaking and you will be listening to it. Right? Whenever you have a doubt, please come in, please. Right. Now, when you speak of a legal research, a systematic and chronological effort is put into place. Now, why you do that? Because you have to identify a problem. It may be a social problem. I'm identifying here as a social problem. It may be a legal problem. When I say legal, it refers to sociology. It may be an economic problem, right? Now, identifying that particular social problem, for what purpose? Not to just identify. You have to see that there is an appropriate solution for that particular problem, right? So that is your research. That's your core idea of your research, right? Identify a social problem, go for an appropriate solution, pursuit for an appropriate solution here. Now, for that, what you have to do, you have to collect evidence, you have to collect information, correct? Now, when I speak of how to collect information or how to go for an evidence of that particular problem and the solution here, remember, it all starts with ascertaining with an assumption, right? It starts with an assumption. It starts with an hypothesis. You have to verify some hypothesis to identify that particular problem and also to look into what may be a solution for this kind of problems. So that is how you all start your legal research. When I speak of legal research, remember that legal research should be of a problem which is researchable. Please remember that it should be researchable. When I say researchable, refers to that it should have validity in the society. You should bring some more knowledge on that particular problem when you say it is researchable. Second thing is it is manageable. Don't be under an idea that you can do all kind of research on a particular point of time. For example, some students come with us saying that I want to do something on copyright law. I do want to do something on trademark law. Now, when I say trademark law or copyright law, what you can manage in copyright law? You can't write the whole project on copyright law or trademark law, right? It should be manageable. So that is how, please remember, you have a problem. It should be researchable. It should be manageable. It should be manageable. Why? I'll tell you in the next part of the discussion here. Okay, now, am I fine there? Am I fine? I'm audible there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, fine. If any problem is there, please interfere. Right. Now come to the starting point of your legal research. When I speak of starting point of your research, in this case, start with a broader area of study, right? Because when you are jumping into doing research here, you may not be knowing what exactly is a problem of a particular area, right? Area of study. So start with the research problem from identifying with the broad area of study here. Why? Because you might have to study as a law student or a social researcher. What is the law in statute? What is the law in action? Correct? So there are two different things. What does the statute say? What does the law really exist in the society? So that's the reason why you may have to start with the broader area. And within that broader area, now you come down to identifying an appropriate topic. I told you, you can't just do on a trademark law, correct? You have to identify a specific topic in that particular case. So you have to map. When you start mapping that particular research topic, remember, you may have to map 2 or more topics for you. You need not stick to one particular topic. You may identify 2-3 topics here, so that ultimately you will finalize on a particular topic. Right? Some researchers may have a specific idea that I have to do this. No problem, right? However, see that you have already identified 2-3 problems. You have to solve that particular problem with your research for one of the problem here. Okay? So that's the reason why you have to map a research topic. When you start mapping the research topic, remember, you have to see that it is socially relevant and also contextually important. These are the most important thing for a researcher. And if someone of you are guiding a scholar, guiding a researcher, please remember that let us not interfere with the researcher, scholar who decides what topic he has to choose. Are you clear? So basically, it is the researcher's choice. It is the researcher who decides what I have to do here. So in that sense, let us not push our idea to the researcher in this case. So let the researcher decide, let the researcher come out with an idea, what he has to do, and ultimately identify the solutions for it. So what is the role of a supervisor here or the guide here? It is only the feeding the frame. We are not spoon feeding here. We are only feeding the frame in this case. He has already come out with a scheme. We are identifying whether he is going in the right direction or she is going in the right direction or not. That is where Wortley called it as feeding in the frame. The supervisor's role is only feeding in the frame here. Let us not spoon feed the researchers. Let them decide what exactly they have to do. That's a very important point we have to look into, right? That's the second point. Come to the third and the fourth point, which is getting connected here. Now, time is an important factor. I believe all of us know that in research, time is an important factor for the reason that if you decide to do research, it can go on continuously without any limitations as to the time is concerned. So schedule your research, identify the time which is required here, whether it is viable for you or whether it is feasible for you, right? For example, normally a person who is doing research or being a scholar may take around 3 to 4 years of completing his research, right? Identify that your 4 years is important to complete your research, or maximum of 5 years is necessary for you to complete your PhD. Clear? So you see whether it is viable for you for 5 years or it's feasible for 5 years. And if you are ready with it, you can complete after submission. Submission can be done immediately after 3 years if you are ready with that. So time is an important factor when you do research, right? That's the second one. Third one, expenditure, the money required for research. I can't go on spending money probably if my research is limited to a particular area here. However, if it is broader, probably I can't spend money on that. So what is the money required? What is the expenditure required for your research? Identify that, because there are many things which are to do when it comes to research. Then the next one is competency. Bring in competency within yourself. For what? One, you have to read widely, and second one is widely. Now, when I say widely, you refer to have that commitment, have that passion, have that enthusiasm to continue to read. That competency should grow within you. Then only you can do a good research here. And the last part of it is your material or sources which are available. Now, do you have material to work on a particular research, on a particular topic? Where are the sources available for you? Is it textbooks? Is it commentaries? Is it library? It's e-resources. So you have to identify those things specifically on that line. Okay, na? So this is where the researcher does specifically on a particular research topic, right? Now that is why Professor Ishwar Bhatt very clearly says, what does he say? He says that the scholar himself or herself is a beneficiary and a victim, right? Why does he say so? He says so because if you get the research, if you get all these things tick marked correctly, probably you are a beneficiary. Okay? Are you clear? Similarly, If you are not competent to read, if you are not enthusiastic to read, remember, you become a victim of that particular research, right? It is his own choice or her choice. So whether you want to become victim or a beneficiary is your choice there. That's what Professor Ishwar Bhatt very clearly says in his book published on legal research and methodology. Okay? So that's how you have to understand when it comes to legal research. Now, when it comes to legal research methodology, now from here onwards, my topic starts. Now, what is exactly research methodology? And please remember, when I go further, you may find that it is repetitive. I might have already said the particular thing before, right? Because one of the things which you have to understand is here, the research proposal, research design are part of your research method. That's one of the reasons why you may find repetitive when I go further, right? So let us understand how exactly it works out. When I speak of a research methodology, the key components are three. One, the research design. That's very important for your starting point of research. Then the second one is your data collection. The third one is data analysis. These are the three key components of research method. So specifically speaking, how it works, how it actually helps us in actually getting good research work is this thing. One, remember that when you are going for a research method, when you are choosing a research method, it should be either systematic or organized. Okay, now? So your research should be systematic, your research should be organized in this case. The reason is because it enhances the reliability and validity of the findings. Once your research is systematic and organized, remember, your reliability increases, validity of the finding increases. That's the reason why your research should be systematic and organized. The second one, it is a roadmap for your research process, because you have to plan, you have to execute, you have to evaluate the research. It's a process, right? It's a research methodology. Research design is a process which you have to plan, execute, evaluate research. Then the third one is, remember, you may have to have a comparison of research findings. When you are doing a comparison of research finding, remember, you may learn so many things, correct? One. Second thing is, what is your contribution to the knowledge or accumulation of knowledge? Because after your findings, research findings, there are some other people who will believe on your research. Are you clear? So basically, what you have learned from others, what you will be giving to the society at large as to the accumulation of knowledge, what is your contribution is an important element there. And remember, the strong research methodology you use, remember, the professional community will accept you. Because your research is credible, people will start accepting you. The profession will accept you because your research was good. So acceptability and utilization by the professional community is an irrelevant factor when it comes to research as a whole, right? Okay, I'm clear, Appa? Am I clear? Any doubts there? Any doubts? Can I proceed? Any doubts there? Am I there? Hello? Am I there, Pa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Please answer. Any question, any doubt there? Okay? Can I proceed? Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Next, when I speak of research methodology, you have these three things. I'll hold on to this explanation now, because first I'll reach with research design and then go to what are these methodologies or types of research in this case. Qualitative method, quantitative method, mixed method. These are the three types of methodology which you can use in your research. What are they? I'll identify in the later part of the discussion, not at current stage. Okay, that's one thing. Now come to the next part of it. The choice of methodology, whether you are going for a qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, or you're going for both, depends on your choice of research questions. What are your research questions? What is the discipline or objective you are identifying in your research? and what is the nature of data or information which is required to be collected here. So that's one of the reasons why when you choose your types of methodology to go for a research, you have to identify what is the objective of your study. What are the research questions you are bringing in to identify the problem and ultimately identifying the solutions for those problems. So it all depends on your what nature of research you want to do, what is the information you are required to collect, what are the data you have to collect. It all depends on that particular issue. Okay, now so choice of methodology depends on all these three things. Then come to research proposal versus research design. Now, when I speak of research proposal and research design, because I have to deal with research design basically. So when I speak of research proposal, remember research proposal is said to be more comprehensive than a research design. See, when you submit your registration for your PhD, probably they will ask you for research proposal, right? Now, when you speak of a research proposal, remember it is more comprehensive than a research design. However, there are common grounds for both of them. Research proposal and research design, there is a common ground. Now, what is that common ground here? The common element or common grounds are that the first one is you have to identify the title of the research. The second one, very important, you have to identify the research problem. In the sense, you have to bring in the statement of a research problem. The third one is you have to explain the background of that particular research problem. Probably telling why did I start this research, why I want to identify this research problem, why I want to highlight this research problem and get an objective here. Okay, so that's one of the things. You have to go to the background of that particular research problem and tell that it is a research proposal of mine. And remember that will be also form of part of your research design. I'll come to that later. And similarly, what is your aim? What is your objective? Now, when you have identified a research problem, what is your aim? Yes, you identified the research problem, but what is your aim to look into that research problem? What is your objective to achieve out of doing a research on that particular problem, right? That's one thing which is part of your research proposal or even for that particular matter, research design. The next one will be your methodology. What is the methodology? I just now said what are the methodology you are using or you are proposing to use in the case of a research what you are doing. Then the next one is scope and limitation. Please remember this is a very important point, but a lot of us don't give importance in case of scope and limitation. For example, what is that limitation here? If you want to do a research, every research will have a limitation or a scope. You can't take up the challenge and say, I'll do everything of trademark law, as I said. You can't say, I'll do everything relating to marriages, right? There must be a scope. There is a specific scope or a limitation to your research. Why? Because you know time is a constraint, material may be a constraint, source may be a constraint. So that's one of the reasons why scope and limitation comes into picture. For example, you are studying a comparative study, right? You want to compare between Indian law and US law. You cannot go to US, spend a lot of money to do research there. Your scope may be limited to that extent of identifying the secondary resources than the primary resources in that case. You should specify that my limitation is this. That is, I may not be able to do a primary research when it comes to the scope is concerned of the research here. Otherwise, I am doing it with reference to India concerned here. Okay. So your scope of research with reference to India is substantial, whereas America may be only secondary material in that case. So identify the scope and the limitation for yourself. This is with reference to research proposal. And remember, research design also consists almost of all these things. In addition to this, what you have to do with reference to research designs. Now, please remember research design. What is a research design? Research design is nothing but, once again, a roadmap for researcher. When I say roadmap, means you have to plan. Without a plan, no research will succeed. So it's a roadmap for your research in this case. And once again, as I told you, fix up the boundaries of your study. What will be your study? To what extent you will be studying? I'll give examples in future, right? So what will be your boundaries of a study? You have to identify there. The next thing is, please remember, as I told already, I'll repeat once again, identify the problem or anticipate the potential problems here. Are you clear? Now, when I say anticipate the potential problem means you may go blindly to the research, to do research. You may not know what problems are there in the society. But once you enter into the field, once you enter into the research scenario, remember, you may find a lot of problems there. So there is a possibility of identifying a problem, anticipating a potential problem here. So please be careful and cautious about these things. Okay, na? You have to identify the problem, or at least you should anticipate a potential problem here. Let me say A problem exists. There may be B problem also which can come up. When you start doing research on A, there is a possibility of B problem coming into picture. So you should anticipate or foresee a potential problem coming before you. So that is how you have to start your research design, right? Then please remember, when I speak of a research design, it is a basic set of beliefs that guide action. When I say this, remember that it is a plan for you. It is a guide of action for you. This is what is my plan. This is how I am going to design my research. So basically on that line, you have to, because you have identified the problem now, correct? You have identified the problem. You have anticipated a potential problem. Now that will become your guide now. Okay? Now, how you exactly anticipate those particular things, particular problems of an expected situation is an important factor here. Are you clear with this? So your direction is to bring the expected situation and identify the solutions for those situations. Am I clear, Appa? Am I clear here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Right. Now, coming further here, you have to identify the scheme of work. When I say scheme of work, you have to structure your research. Basically, when I say structure your research means as a whole, right? Now, that will be part of your research design. When you structure your research, the scheme of the work will be structured. I'll highlight that in the next 2 or 3 slides, where how exactly, taking a particular topic, I'll highlight how exactly you have to structure your research basically. The next thing is, please remember, your research stages should be in control. Whatever stage your research is, please keep in control. For example, let me say you have completed the 2nd chapter. Normally, people may say first chapter will be written in the end. When it comes to PhD, normally we say first chapter will be written in the end. Let me say you are in 2nd chapter, right? Suddenly you start working on the 5th chapter. Are you clear? So please remember, you identify your limitations. You identify that you are in control of your research. There is nothing wrong if you go to chapter 5 if you are confident. But see that you don't get diverted with 2nd chapter and directly go to the 5th chapter here. Are you clear? Be clear on your research area. Be in control of your research area. That's the 2nd point. The 3rd one is basically list of ingredients, components or instructions required for your research. I'll take a very good example. What probably we did as it was a blunder or a mistake was, we started reading the articles, we started reading the textbooks, we started reading commentaries, right? But probably what we did was 2 things, 2 mistakes we did when we did our PhD was, we did not start writing it. Okay? We read lot of articles, lot of textbooks, but probably I did not write the article. I did not write that particular study which I have done in that case. So automatically, even if I have studied for 6 to 7 months, the whole 6 months probably is a waste of time for me because I have not noted down anything. There is no improvement in my the research in that case. That's one mistake probably we do as researchers, right? This was possible. This is possible because when we look into the earlier system, we don't have computers, right? We were not able to type that particular system there. But today, it's possible that when you start reading, you can actually start working on your research writing also. That's one thing. Second one, source. Normally, footnoting, we neglect to do footnoting in the beginning, right? When I completed my first chapter, remember, I realized a blunder has happened. What is that blunder? I did not source those particular footnotes. Whatever I have written as a source, I actually did not put it as a footnote. Then I realized to search that source, once again, I have to go to the same source. Lot of time will be wasted when you go for sources here. So please take care of these two things. Are you clear? One, source is an important factor. Means when you look into the footnote, when I say source here means footnote and the source where you have taken from. Identify that, put it into the footnote immediately here, including the last date of visit if you are going for a internet scenario here. Okay. If you are taking a article from an internet, you have to put in the last visited date also. So identify that and fix it there. Because tomorrow you need not go back in searching of that particular commentary or article for that matter. So that's one thing which has to be taken care of. The next one is narration of methodological strategies. Now, what is your methodology you are going for in this research? For example, what is your hypothetical model? When I say hypothetical model, refers to a situation where a particular set of group of people are measured, right? Within their relationship, within their ideas, and you test that particular group in this case. So that's a hypothetical model. When I speak of hypothetical model, I'll be highlighting that once again with an example in future. So when I speak on this particular line, what group you want to do research, what group on which you are to do research is an important factor. Hypothetically, what is that you want to get from them? What is the information you want to get from them? All these are matters which comes into when it comes to whether you are doing qualitative, quantitative analysis. We'll refer that further, right? That's one thing. The next thing is selection of a sample. Now, when I speak of selection of a sample, who should be your test? Whom should you actually take as a sample? I believe that this is a very tough job. And remember, it is also difficult to get sometimes samples for yourself, right? Because some people may not be interested in giving you information relating to a particular research, what you are doing. So probably selection of sample, how you will go for that sample is a difficult task here, right? Next comes your data sources and techniques of collection. Now, what are the different ways in which you can collect your sources, the data which is available, or techniques of collection, how to collect that particular data? All these are matters which you have to plan it out. Remember, in your research design, you have to plan all these things. In addition to that, your systematic plan will be to look into the logical process of inquiry. Why did you do that? You have to conclude with the logical process of inquiry, right? You have a development of an independent idea with that particular problem, right? Similarly, you have to structure with what variables you are actually deciding this particular research area. Okay, there are variables. You have to identify the variables, what variables you are looking into, what are the operations of these variables. You have to identify and then structure your research project or research as a whole, right? The next one is strategy for investigation. I think when I refer to data collection, it continues. The strategy for investigation is connected to that. When I speak on that, you have to go for a data analysis and data interpretation. Most important thing, sometimes probably as a law student, we may not be able to do it. We may have to take the help from outsiders, statistical experts in that case. Okay, na? So data analysis and interpretation has to be done by us as a research scholar here. Then please remember, your research design will be the basis for interpretation of your data, because you have already identified how the data is collected, what are the sources of that particular data, interpretation of data is done, analysis of that particular data is done. So basically your research design is leading us to interpret that particular data in that case. So that's what is your research design. Okay, am I clear? I have a question now. when should you start designing your research? Is it after your research proposal is ready, or before you start identifying the problem? Can someone answer me? When this research design comes into picture, is it at the time of visualization of the process of conducting a research, or is it at the time of actually submitting your research proposal?
At the time of visualization of the research.
Please repeat, Appa. Pardon me.
Sir, it is at the time of visualization of the research, I suppose.
Correct. So what happens here? Your research design has started before probably identifying a research problem. Correct, na? So please remember, your research design is at the time of visualization of process of conducting a research problem here. Are you clear? So you are already visualizing that this will be my idea of research. This will be the way in which I want to do research. This is the way in which I want to pursue my research. This is the way in which I want to collect the data. So you are already identifying what will be your research growth in this case. It is similar to an architect of a building, right? When you speak of construction of a house, you have a blueprint of this house. The blueprint is prepared before you start construction of a house, right? Almost similar to that is your research design. So it's a blueprint of your research work in this case. So it's nothing but building plan for you. So that is how research design comes into play. You have to do it before visualization of the process of conducting in this particular case. Let me identify some of the issues here, and I want answers from you that in which case you can do a non-doctrinal research, in which case you want to do a doctrinal research. Okay. I just want to highlight that whether all can be with reference to non-doctrinal research or some of them can be only with reference to doctrinal research or not. Let me take an example. You have an abstract idea or a concept, right? You have an abstract idea or a concept, and that is your foundation of your study. Correct? It's your foundation of study. Now let me take the first example. Has collegium system failed in the Indian judicial system? If that is the idea, right? It's a concept you have taken, failure of a collegium system in your judicial system. The first thing. The second thing, probably very popularly now called as bulldozer justice. I want to do research on land acquisition or bulldozer justice, which is happening at this stage. I want to do research on this. Is bulldozer justice is justice at all? Third one, fundamental right of animals. When I speak on this, recently the Supreme Court was deciding upon street dog versus human element, whether it is a research question at all for me. The third one, emergency arbitration. Indian Arbitration Act may not provide emergency arbitration. Amazon showed us that there is a possibility of an emergency arbitration. What kind of research you want to do here, right? Similarly, principle of first refusal, right of first refusal. Next, rethinking of section 498A of IPC. That's nothing but section 80 and 85 of BNS today. For example, Supreme Court have recently started identifying that remember, in the earlier stages, whenever it comes to dowry and in case of cruelty under 498, first arrest, then investigation, right? Now the Supreme Court has reversed that policy by following one of the Allahabad High Court judgment saying that now today, first there must be, immediately after FIR, there is no arrest. You have to send them to the counseling. Correct, na? Allahabad High Court guidelines was approved by the Supreme Court in one of the cases recently. So there is no arrest in the beginning. It will be first sent to counseling, then FIR will be taken into consideration in that case. What kind of research you can do in this case? Similarly, in insider trading law, there is something called as whistleblower protection law. Whether whistleblowers, when it comes to insider trading, when I am doing insider trading as a director of a company, is whistleblower protected at all? What kind of research you can do? Similarly, manipulation in the security market and law, what kind of research you can do? Similarly, whether reformative theory with reference to the convicted people? Is it a failed experience? Are you clear? These are some of the ideas, abstract ideas or concepts which are there before you. Now, can you identify on which you can do doctrinal research, on which you can do non-doctrinal research? When I speak of non-doctrinal research, we are speaking something about empirical research here. Okay, pa? So doctrinal is going into the library, going into the books, identifying the problem, then identifying the solution. Whereas non-doctrinal is going to the field. Which one of you can actually do a doctrinal research? Which one you can do with reference to non-doctrinal research? I'll give 2 minutes for answering for you. These are the topics. These are the abstract ideas or concepts. Which one you can actually go for a doctrinal research, which you can go for a non-doctrinal research here?
Sir, can I try?
Please, please. Your name, please.
I am Nitin Khanna, sir. I am a practicing lawyer in Delhi High Court.
Please, please, sir.
And bar member of NCDRC.
Please.
Sir, in my understanding, the places where there is a codified law or defined law, and the things are already set in place, there the doctrinal research makes sense.
Okay.
Where the things are abstract, like something which is not defined, which is like a jurisprudence, non-doctrinal research comes into action there. That can be the general rule as per my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, right. Okay, fine. Anyone to answer? In this topic, which can be doctrinal, which can be non-doctrinal?
So may I answer?
Please.
Sir, failure of the collegium system,
Yes.
then emergency arbitration, principles of
Okay.
right of first refusal,
Right.
whistleblower protection and insider trading law will come under doctrinal research.
Okay, good,
And
good.
non-doctrinal is the reformative theory, rethinking
Right.
section 498A of IPC,
Right, right.
land acquisition. These may, and manipulation in the securities market and law may come under non-doctrinal research.
Okay, pa. Good, good. Anyone to answer? Anyone to add upon what he said? Right. Okay. So understand what exactly you can think of going for a doctrinal research, what you can go for a non-doctrinal research. Okay, na? So be clear on that. For example, when it comes to street dogs versus human rights, now you can start analyzing that. Basically, going for a non-doctrinal research, you identify a particular place. How many people have died by street dog bite? You can start analyzing that. Okay, na? So that becomes a non-doctrinal research for you. Possibilities are there. But can you do a doctrinal research on animal rights? Yes, you can still do. The only thing you do is you analyze the statute, right? You analyze the, for example, there is something called as Wildlife Protection Act. You want to see how tigers are protected, how the wild animals cannot enter into the cities. So this kind of things can be analyzed with way of a doctrinal research. If you want to do a study on field research as to how many dogs bite cases were there, you have to go for a non-doctrinal research there. Clear? Similar is a case what he already said was your 498A case of IPC. You can do a non-doctrinal research in that particular case. Am I clear? So similarly, reformative theory can also be going for a non-doctrinal research here. Field research can be done on these specific elements here. Am I clear with this? So when it comes to emergency arbitration, you can just stick on to the doctrinal research, identify what exactly is emergency arbitration, how exactly arbitration works, and how is it different from a regular arbitration, correct? Who is this arbitrator we are speaking in an emergency arbitration? What is the time limit for emergency arbitration? All these can be points of question of law which can come into picture there. So that's how your conceptual research comes into play. Your idea comes into play here. So you can identify in this manner and then start working on your research. For that, you should analyze once again what kind of research purpose you have or diverse purpose of legal research you have. For example, let me take a case here. Exploration research. you want to go for exploration of a research here. Now, what is this exploration research? It's basically a sociological study or a field work. Now, let me say, I want to see the customary law relating to tribal marriages in a particular area. For let me say in Assam, I want to do a research on a particular tribe in Assam, that how marriage law is protected for tribe. Customary law is protected under law, right? So basically, I go for an exploration research, which I think you should do a sociological study there or a legal, socio-legal study there. Now come to the description, right? When I speak of a description, it's an analytical research. Once again, a doctrinal research here. Now, many of you have heard what is called as non-conventional trademarks. Now, when I speak of a non-conventional trademark, you speak of whether a smell has a trademark, whether taste has a trademark. All these are non-conventional. New sound has a trademark. All these are non-conventional trademarks. So you are going for a description of a particular research topic. So you go for an analytical research there. Similarly, you go for an evolution of law. That is nothing but historical narration of a particular law. Then probably one of the best topic will be insolvency law. Why? Because you can start with Pitkin's theory when it comes to insolvency law, Pitkin's theory in 14th, 15th century, and then come to what insolvency law is today. Historical narration of what insolvency law, doctrinal research once again, correct? Then comes to evaluation. Your research design can be going for an evaluation of a research work where you identify the social impact of law on the society. For example, now we are rethinking on the age of consent for consensual sex. Should it be 18 or should it be 16? Now, if the law is reduced from 18 to 16, what will be the social impact with reference to particular age of consent in this case? Similarly, the Supreme Court recently decided that same-sex marriage is not valid. Let the legislature take care of it. Now, what will be the social impact on that particular topic? Evaluation. You start evaluating that particular topic or research and how exactly it impacts the society as a whole. Then the next one will be reform. Now, what your research will be, research design will identify is whether I should do something on reforming a law. The best example is with reference to your online gaming law. Recently, the law has been passed wherein it says when it comes to payment of money, right, the online gaming is prohibited. Where it's free of cost, it is permitted. Now, you may have to go for a doctrinal and non-doctrinal research, adopting different strategy, how exactly you can bring in reform for that. Similarly, electoral bonds was barred by the Supreme Court of India, right? Now, how that actually can be a reform, how there can be a reform on electoral bonds can be one of the research area for you. The next one is philosophical research. When I speak of philosophical research, remember, you are going for a value discourse. When I speak of a value discourse, let me bring in a new idea. What is that new idea? Do company have feelings? It's a philosophical idea. Whether company has a right to privacy. It is recognized by law that company do have a privacy. Now, can a company have a feelings? Because when it comes to reputation of a company, is it not feelings? So you can think on identifying the value discourse to that particular way, the particular research by going into philosophical research there. Are you understanding the point here? That is how your research design will be constituted here. Hope I am clear, Appa. Any doubts here? Any doubts? Shall I proceed?
No.
Shall I proceed? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, please remember, when I speak of research design, please remember, let it be logical, right? Your legal problem is logical, structured, and controlled inquiry. This, I think I have already referred. I told you that it will look like repetition, but I have to repeat because I was referring to in the research proposal. So basically, your research problem should be logical, structured, controlled inquiry. That's the very important thing which has to be taken care of. Then, when you speak of selection of a research design, please remember it is completely based on your problem and the issue you have to address in this case. What is the nature of research problem? What is the issue you have to address in that particular research problem? I have an illustration for that in future. I'll be explaining that when I go there. Okay. Then please remember research design. When you are speaking of a research design, you may probably have an intersection of philosophy. Remember that every research you do has an intersection of philosophy. The reason is you may not be identifying that philosophy because normally that philosophy is hidden in that research. Every topic you take for research, there is a philosophy behind it. There is an intersection of philosophy and law. But probably we may not think so broad to identify because it is hidden in your research itself. Are you clear? And that's the reason why please understand that every point of research you do, there is an intersection of philosophy behind it. Second one, strategy of inquiry. What is the strategy you adopt for the inquiry here? What are the specific methods you inquire here? That's, I think I have already referred to. So you ask these 4 questions for yourself. What are the 4 questions here? Which design should be used? 1. Second, plan how to research in a going to work. That's the method, how a research is going to work in your case, right? The third one is roadmap of what research will take place. What is the research you are actually conducting? The third one, how it will be, so fourth one, how it will be conducted in this case. Okay, so which design should be used, how it will go, how it will work, what is the research which will take place, and thirdly, how it will be, fourthly, how it will be conducted in this case. So all these 4 questions has to be asked by yourself when you start your research design, preparing a research design in that case. Now coming into the components of research design, I'll just highlight some of the important issues here. The first one, which I've already said, the first one is statement of the topic and the title. Please remember your topic title should be self-explanatory, non-ambiguous. Are you clear? I'll take a simple example. Copyright issues in digital media, India mein, right? That's it. Your topic is that. It's not self-explanatory to that extent for the reason you are identifying the whole copyright law. Correct, na? So that may not be self-explanatory. Your title should say, what is your research upon? By reading the title, I should know what is inside your paper, inside your research. Hence, your title should be non-ambiguous. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, introduce the research problem properly. Are you clear? For that, you should locate, contextualize your research problem. The second important thing, locating the research problem, which I've already said, contextualizing the research problem is another issue which has to be taken care of. Please remember, when you are doing it, you may have gray areas, right? You may have current prevalent debate on the topic in this case. So that's what you have to locate. You have to contextualize in this case. Are you clear? Now, when you are doing it, what are the difficulties you faced? The felt difficulties should be identified here. When you are locating, contextualizing your research problem, please remember you may feel difficulty. Now identify those difficulties for your research problem. The third one, motive and goals of research has to be identified in this case. I think which we have already referred, the area of concern, what is the investigation you want to go for it, what is the scientific analysis you do, and identifying that scientific analysis, what are the gaps you want to fill in this case as far as the research is concerned. So the first 3 things are identified here. The motives and goals are once again an important point where you search for a gap and you want to find a solution for filling that particular gap. That's what you have to do in the third scenario. Then comes to the fourth question, research questions. Ask the right questions here, because that will be an important factor to become the research to become a successful research here. So your questions are wrong, your research questions are wrong, automatically your success will be low. Are you clear? So please remember, there is a possibility of examination of a relationship between 2 variables here or 2 or more variables here. Identify that. Let me take an example. Child in conflict with law. When I speak of child in conflict with law, is it connected to a social problem? Is it connected to an economic condition? Because of this socio-economic condition, is there a crime rate which has increased, or we don't have a socio-economic condition problems, so crime rate is less? Will your research study be on that line? So child in conflict with law, social economic condition, what is the crime rate? If crime rate is high, what is the remedial mechanism? That's your idea of research design. Okay. The second example is pendency of cases. I believe we already have around 5.3 crore cases pending before the courts. Now, I want to do a research. Is it a failure of judiciary in this case? Has the judiciary failed to bring down the pendency of cases? I may have to do a research in this case. Similarly, I may also go for another variable, that is whether tribunalization has reduced pendency of cases, or arbitration mediations have reduced the pendency of cases today. So this kind of identifying a question, identifying the problem, and then variables, identifying with other variables will be an important issue for you to study. So these are the things which has to be taken care of. Okay. Then comes your documentary and library resources. Please remember the literature review is an important factor here. Some scholar come and ask me that how many literature review I have to do. I don't give numbers, right? There is no numbers for you to restrict yourself as to what kind of literature review you have to do and what is the contours of your literature review. Are you clear? There is no limit as to what literature review is restricted. For example, can I restrict to 20? Can I restrict to 25? They will ask me. I said there is no limit. Are you clear? That's one thing which has to be taken care of. But keep in mind the time and the energy and the expenditure which is involved there. Based on that, you can decide what should be a literature review there. Identify the primary and secondary material which is to be used in this case. Okay, that's what you have to look into in those cases. Then comes the sixth point, doctrinal or non-doctrinal or empirical research in this case. So data collection comes into picture here. Now, these are some of the methods in which you gather the data. That is, either it may be a survey, it may be an experiment, it may be a case study, questionnaire, interview, or observation. That we normally refer it to two circumstances. One is it an individual level survey or is it an observational data examination? I'll take an example. Now, when it comes to individual level survey, I go and interview in a particular village to identify what is their economic and social status. Individually, I go, I prepare a questionnaire, I prepare for an interview and go there and see that what are the questions I individually meet them and ask for the answers from them. That becomes individual level survey. Now, when it comes to observational data examination, I am not asking any questions. I am not going for any questionnaire. I go there, sit there, observe there what they are doing, what is their culture, what is their society, what is their economic condition. I will not ask anyone there. I'll just sit and observe what they are doing. That will become your observational data examination. Okay, na? So your research can be non-doctrinal or empirical research in this way, either individual level survey or observational data examination. Remember, time has to be understood in this case. Observational data, sometimes it happens so that you may have to stay for 6 months with them or maybe 1 year also with them. So whether your time permits or not has to be understood in this way and then proceed with the research in that case. That's very important for you. Further, operationalize timing and data management is very important. Group participation and selection of that particular group is important. For example, when you are sampling, matlab sample selection ho raha hai to, please remember what should be the size of the sample, what are the sampling techniques you want to adopt, you have to look into in this case. So basically, you are very specifically identifying what sample you have to take. Now, caution or safeguard. Please remember, when you are going for an interview, when you are going for an observation, observation you need not take consent. When you go for an interview or a questionnaire, please remember you have to take informed consent of the participants in that case. Second most important thing, you cannot forget this. You should see that the privacy and confidentiality of the people who are giving interview or questionnaire answers are protected in that case. Then data analysis to be done using or use the coding of that particular data analysis and then interpret here. Please remember, imperative of research ethics should be maintained by every one of us. For example, Can you manipulate a sample? Please answer me this question. Can you manipulate a sample? Can you manipulate a sample? Yes or
No.
no? Possibilities are
No.
there?
Yes, it
Yes.
is possible.
Yes, yes, it's possible. So kindly avoid manipulating the sample, because that takes away your ethics of research. Okay, now there are many studies which do manipulate and provide you results. Are you clear? So be careful that what exactly is your ethics in research in this case. Protect that particular ethical behavior of yours when it comes to research here. Don't try to manipulate the samples. Very easy to manipulate. Don't do that. That's what is the idea of what research is all about. Then come to the next approaches to data analysis. How do you approach the data analysis here? The first one is statistical test. Now, when I speak of let me take an example of a matrimonial dispute and then answer for you. Now, there may be cases of dowry, there may be cases of cruelty, there is a case of divorce, maintenance, triple talaq, child custody. Are you clear? So there are different matrimonial disputes which arise in the family courts. Now, when you look into that, whether you can do a data analysis of this kind of scenarios, come to the statistical test. Please remember, you can use an analysis of a data here to find a pattern. A particular pattern will be there. Are you clear? Now, of late, remember, when you go to the High Court hearing, you are hearing that women are asking for high amount of maintenance. Clear? Per month 6 lakhs, per month 5 lakhs. I want settlement of 30 crores. Are you clear? So there is a pattern which is developing now. Are you understanding, Appa? So you may go for a statistical test with reference to that. A pattern of things happen in a particular way. So identify that and see that what kind of research analysis can be done there. Second one, thematic. For example, judicial trend in matrimonial cases. When I speak of matrimonial cases, for example, child custody. Normally, child custody is given to whom? It's the mother. So that's a judicial trend basically. Has it changed? You may have to do an analysis whether men also are given child custody these days. So what is the judicial trend with reference to that? Thematic analysis of law. Now synthesis. After doing all these research, study the law, study the regulations if any, study the cases here and then analyze. Synthesize that problem which you have already studied, analyzed, and then go for a logical, conclusive conclusive research proposal here, right? Means conclusion of that particular research here. So your conclusion will be well supported if you follow this particular process. So ultimately, your conclusion is logical, concise, and precise. Okay, that's how you can start working on your research when it comes to data analysis is concerned. Now, please remember, I may not have time to look into all these things. There are different kinds of samples which you have to look into. There is something called a simple random sample, systematic sample, stratified cluster. There are different kinds of sampling tests which is there. Probably there is no time for me to look into all those things. That is called as probability on random sampling. There is also something called as non-probability sampling. Now, when it comes to non-probability sampling, you are speaking something about quota being provided, purposive convenience, and snowballing. I'll take one example of a particular quota in this case. Now, when I speak of quota, you divide men, women, child into different groups. Out of men, women, and children there, you only pick 10 people from each group. That is your quota system of sampling. Am I clear on that? Okay. So proportional representation is given to the each group. 10 men, 10 women, 10 children are selected in that particular group and told to provide the information to me. They become the sample for me. That is possible. So like that, every kind of your sampling will be having this kind of scenario, how exactly it works out. Okay, now? So basically, this is what you are going for a sampling in that case. Now, please remember the 7th point which has to be taken care is method of research. When I speak of method of research, basically 2 things you have to understand here. One is whether you are adopting a deductive method or inductive method, right? When you speak of a deductive method, it's called as top-down approach, from general to specific. Whereas in inductive method, it is specific to general. Okay, na? So that you have to identify whether you're going for a deductive method of research or an inductive method of research. For example, POXO is an act. Now, how did POXO came into picture? What is the purpose behind POXO? What are the historical reasons why POXO has to be brought in? And that's general, right? Now you want to be specific. In this particular case, if a child is in custody, what is the protection given to that particular child in custody? And what will be the responsibility of an accused officer? If the child has been inflicted with an offense under POXO Act, what is the officer's role here? What is the accused to be taken care of? How the accused have behaved in that particular way? And the result for it. So basically, from general, you have come to specific. Child custody, protection. Child custody and accused officer here. So you are going to specific here. Come to inductive method. Here, you speak of a child custody case in a family court and then come to the conclusion that this is the general law for you when it comes to child custody. Now, what is the basic fundamental court's opinion on that? The best interest of the child is taken care when it comes to child custody in matrimonial cases. So best interest of the child is your conclusion probably. Are you clear? So from general to specific or specific to general is your method which you have adopted in research designing as a whole. Then once again, please remember, you should have clarity of your presentation. Why? Because that is your contribution to the existing knowledge. Whatever you are presenting, your existing knowledge contribution is this. Understand the law, point out the deficiencies, propose reforms. So this is your contribution basically. The eighth one is your contribution here because there is already an existing knowledge. For that existing knowledge, you have to add upon additional knowledge here. That is why I started with saying knowledge begets knowledge. Your contribution will be another knowledge added to the society at large. So that's how you have to go with it. Ninth, tentative chapter breakup has to be done. I think I need not explain much on that. Please remember, heading, subheading has to be clear. Ensure clarity of presentation, enclose bibliography. This is one of the things which has to be done when it comes to research design. And lastly, end product has to be taken into consideration, right? Now, what you have initiated, what you have continued, what you have contextualized is an important element when it comes to intellectual debate happens on this line. See, your initiatives, your continuity of research, and then contextualizing that research will actually be your contribution so that I will start working on that now. Okay? What your contribution is based on that, I will start working on that. So that's an important issue. That's a strength of your research design basically, right? Now, once you're convinced as to specific method is concerned, remember, competence to handle the research project will be explicit in that case. Now I'll go to the example here. I'll directly go to the example. Before that, caution. When you're doing research, these two things have to be taken into consideration. Now, when you go for a qualitative analysis of case study, please remember it may provide in-depth knowledge with reference to that case study. Okay? Caution. You have to be very cautious here. The qualitative analysis may provide you in-depth knowledge of study, but however, you may not generally apply to the wide population in that case. It applies to only that case study. It may not apply to a wider population there. So your research will be restricted to that particular case study. So be careful about that. Similarly, second one, your experimental design in a laboratory, right, may answer your cause and effect. Because of this, X happened. Because of this, Y happened. High accuracy may be there, but remember, in reality, it may fail. So these are the repercussions of your research work. You may have a wonderful research results, but in wide population, it may not be accepted in a case study. As to the laboratory issue is concerned, it may not be applied in reality at all. So you have to be thoroughly disappointed to see these results, right? After doing so much of research, if you find that you can't apply to a wider population, it's no use at all. So be cautious about these things basically when it comes to this. Now I'll take an illustration and probably wind up how exactly your research should be taken into consideration. Let us generally, I make a statement here. All of us are mad while driving. Do you agree with this? All of us are mad while driving. It's because I am mad. I am a rash driver. I may not be using something wrongfully, using a lane, or others may be wrong. I get irritated for that. So we are mad. In that general sense, we are mad. So basically what happens is, how can you do a research on this particular area, right? So my topic area will be this. That is, what are the traffic violations? I'm generalizing and concluding this with this example. Let me say I want to do research on violations in traffic signals or traffic positions. Okay, now if you see this picture, you can identify that there are many violations which have happened in this case. Okay, are you clear? You can see the picture here. It's very clear that some of them have parked the vehicle. If you see the first one, car, you see that the car is parked on the pedestrian walking strip, right? The other two cars are turning the other way around, where they have not maintained that particular thing basically. So for that, you have identified that there are vignettes. The vignettes are basically considering these signboards. Now you may have a signboard in roads saying that triple seat, no helmet, no belt seat, stop line, mobile, or all these things, fancy plate, anything for that particular matter. Wrong parking. All these are signboards which are there on the streets. The side of the street, you have these signboards. Now, when you are violating that particular law, the officer comes to you and he may charge you on that particular line. Correct, ma'am? So when you are doing a research on this, basically, when it comes to traffic violation, you have to consider three things: the characteristics of a driver, the characteristics of a vehicle, and the characteristics of a police officer. Remember, you may do each one of them individually. Are you clear? You may only consider research on characteristics of a driver, character of a vehicle, or a police officer characters. So your study is located to identifying traffic violation and accidents. Now, when you do this, remember, the variable may be age. When it comes to age, is a juvenile driving a vehicle? Is an adult driving a vehicle? Accidents are more or less. Is an old person, elderly person driving a vehicle, and that's the reason why accidents do happen. It's a variable for you. Second thing, gender. It can be on gender, male versus female. Your research can be on male versus female here, or it can be on family vehicle. For example, when a family is sitting beside you, you may drive slowly. Now that is also a research for you. Are you clear? So that's the way in which you start your research. And remember, there are two things which has to be taken care when it comes to variable. There is something called as independent variable. There is something called as dependent variable. When I speak of an independent variable, there is a possibility of a cause. That's nothing but manipulate or vary in experimental study. You can do that. Not influenced by any other variables. Please remember, when you do this kind of research, okay, there is a possibility that you may not be influenced by any other variables. However, when it comes to dependent variable, which is called as an effect, there is a possibility of a change which can happen, right? What does it mean basically? For example, under the MV Act, whether violation rates are high, seizure of the vehicle rate is high, or per capita police is high or not. This is a research you may have to do. Now, in this circumstances, let me take an example. What is an independent variable here? Now, normally, vignettes will be there. There is a signboard already on the streets. Now, I want to study if the police is not present at that particular traffic signal, or will a person looking into vignettes behave and regulate himself in this case. One research. The other research will be whether the presence of a traffic police at that particular point of time, will it reduce accidents or not? Or will they follow the rules or not? How does it influence? will vignette influence your behavior, or presence of a traffic police changes your behavior? So whether it influences or causes a change in the outcome of that particular thing is your research. I hope I am clear upon that point. So it's an independent variable here. If vignettes are there, whether I follow the rules. No police there. If the police is there, will I follow the rule? Without vignettes also. Okay, that's the way in which you have to proceed with your research. So there we speak something about independent variables which you can possibly manipulate and do it, or independent variables where there is a possibility of no change at all in this case. Why and how? Profiling, for example, when you do research, you may do research on two-wheelers. It may be auto for that particular matter, where you can differentiate research with reference to school versus passenger vehicle. Matlab, autos are used for school children to be dropped. You want to do research on that? Yes, go ahead with it. Passenger, car, goods carrier. Once again, minivan versus truck, lorry. And remember, when it comes to goods carrier and vans and trucks, police have a suspicion more about these things rather than a car. You may do that research also. When do police stop you? Are you clear? When do you have a suspicion that you are carrying something wrongful in your vehicle? So that's one research you can do. Once again, you want to do something on research with reference to state transport versus private transport. How do they behave? When it comes to ambulance, what is the time which has taken to reach a particular accident spot? You can do a research on that. So basically, these are profiling which happens. What are the variables? It may be done in a state. It may be done with reference to overloading. It may be done with reference to window tint, body style, SUV versus sedan versus luxury vehicles. You can do it on vehicle quality or hazardous traffic violations here. Let me have a presumption here for that particular matter. When you are going with a luxury vehicle, police may stop you, may not stop you at all, right? Assumed economic ability. So that's the way in which has to be looked into. And coming into the other variables, probably we call it as pertinent variables here. Let me take an example of Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. The speed limit is 120 kilometers. In Bangalore-Mysore Expressway, it is 100 kilometers. Now, how do you measure that you are traveling more than 120 kilometers or more than 100 kilometers? There will be no police in the highways, right? There are no police in the highways. Now, there is a technology which is adopted. I'll tell you in the later part of the discussion to conclude that. Okay. So you can do research on all these things. For example, triple riding. Which is the age group when people go with the triple riding? Similarly, driving without license. Who are the people, whether it is male or female, who go without license driving? Similarly, helmet, whether men are wearing helmet more or women are wearing helmet more. All these are research which you can do by way of an observation skill as a whole, right? That's what you have to look into. Coming into variables with reference to police officer here, please remember, it may be with reference to shortage of police personnel. Because of that, traffic cannot be maintained. What is the year of experience of those police people? What is the difference between a male police officer versus a female police officer? How do they behave in traffic violations? Work shift, department. Who stops? Who stops you from moving in the traffic violations here? Now, there are various factors you have to look into in this case, whether corruption exists, how much corruption exists, what is the extra legal factors which the police consider while violating the traffic signals. All these are research which you have to look into. Now, how technology is used in looking into the breaches of the violations or traffic violations can be considered in those cases. For example, this is a traffic flow management system. I think many of you have identified today that police will not stop you. Probably they will take just a click from their mobile phone to see whether you have violated a particular traffic violation. So technology is used for identifying your violations here. So that can be a research part of you. That can be a variable or a dependent variable depending upon what kind of research you do. Similarly, in Bangalore, they have started an initiative wherein if you have violated, there is a challan in your name. In a particular road, they are displaying this particular number vehicle has not paid the challan. This particular vehicle has violated this rule. This particular vehicle has not paid the challan. Now they are using technology to the maximum in this case. Now I was speaking something about Bombay and Bombay-Delhi Expressway or Bangalore-Mysore Expressway. They have used AI here. What does AI do here is that when you travel at 100 kilometers per hour, every 2-3 kilometers or 5 kilometers, there is an AI camera, right? Now, when you travel at 100 kilometers, how much time it will take to reach that particular destination? So based on your covering that 5 to 10 kilometers, the AI will identify you have crossed 100 or you have crossed 120 kilometers per hour. So technology used for violation of traffics in this case. So these are some of the things which you can actually go for a research design, identify the research work, either through primary data and secondary data in that case. Okay, I think that will conclude my time. Because of the limitation, I'll just see. Please remember one thing. Qualitative research speaks about why attitude. Quantitative speaks about numbers and statistics. Qualitative is flexible. Quantitative is not flexible because numbers are present with you. So qualitative research can be flexible here and there, but quantitative cannot be because the number and statistics will speak for themselves. If there is XYZ violation, you cannot manipulate that basically because numbers very clearly say, statistics very clearly say that these are the violations which have taken place. So be careful. Qualitative is flexible. Quantitative is less flexible here. And remember, you can also do a mixed or combining kind of research here. It can be both qualitative and quantitative research. I think it's a separate topic for us to understand very clearly. And please, ultimately, please remember, analyzing the data, interpreting the data is important thing. Your findings should be credible, reliable, and valid. Then the other professional body or professional community will start using your research work here. To conclude, please remember, provide the final determination or recommendation in this case. Second, key argument are presented properly, highlight it. What is your final opinion and outcome which are derived from your research? Are you clear? Explain the research significance, and ultimately, what are the reasons you are supporting your opinion? Or when you are deducted something, what is your logical conclusion on that particular deduction? And that will suggest what will be your research for future for others. But for me to do research on your work, what is the future research directions? So these are the things which you have to look into when it comes to research design. Thank you. And over to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Appa.
Okay. So is there any question? This session is open for questions. Okay. So very.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Anjali.
Sir, thank you so
Am I
much for the
audible,
wonderful
sir?
session, sir. It is really lucid and very simple to understand us. But while deciding the topic and deciding the method of research is really difficult. So
Correct,
please
correct.
give us some more idea. For example, mixed method. It seems very easy, but
Right.
what kind of balance we should take? For
Correct.
example, I'm doing research in impact of social behaviors by social marketing. How behavior change. For example, this rash driving. So what kind of social applications of or methods can be change the societal behavior? Force, fear is one way. Social engineering is another way.
Right.
But how would I design my blend of research? Please
Right.
guide something.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, Geetanjali. Miss Geetanjali.
Yes, sir. So, am I audible?
Hanappa, please.
Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you about the interdisciplinary research. For
Right.
example, in today's world, if we see the call for papers and other things, they prefer interdisciplinary research. For example, law and economics, law and literature. But
Correct.
when it comes to economics, there are some empirical tests and empirical research methods which we do not know because we are from the legal background.
Right.
In the
Correct.
same way, there are some, if we go for the literature papers, so we have to mention the critics, we have to analyze the theories and everything. So we have to refer the novels and the writers and refer everything in that way. So in the same way, psychological papers, you can take any example of that. For that, if you want to do it, so how can we learn it, or what how can we approach this thing? Like, how can we write it?
Right. Okay. See, the first question I think Vivek sir was asking me. When you speak of identifying a mixed kind of research, see, that's what I told you, whether you are choosing a deductive method or inductive method. When you are speaking of a deductive method, there is a possibility of generalizing the law. Now you identify that what research you are doing in this case, correct? Broader area of research. Then you speak of a particular area you want to concentrate in that topic. Are you clear? I think you said something about consumer behavior, right?
Societal behavior of humans, for example, rash driving.
Right. Okay. Let me take the example. Rash driving. Now, the law says what? The Motor Vehicles Act says a specific conditions on which you have to drive the vehicle. Right? Let me take an example of rash driving. How many of you have faced people traveling in a one-way and coming in the opposite direction to you? Many examples, right? There are many examples for that. We find lot of irritation when it comes to wrong driving here. Means they come opposite, just opposite to you, wherein you cannot go further. Now, how do you analyze this? What is the law relating to that, right? Now, second thing, when you are going for you are doing a doctrinal research there. What is the law saying for these kind of violations? What are the police doing for these particular violations? What is the law relating to what police are protected in this particular way? What are the technology which is helping police to do all these things, right? These are all coming under the doctrinal research. Then come to behavior of a particular driver. Identify what kind of vehicle you are using. See, you can't do all the drivers there, correct? You have to choose once again what kind of driver you want to use. For example, is it taxi drivers? Is it two-wheeler drivers? Are you clear? Identify that. Once again, that's what I told you. Limit your scope of research because you can't do everyone at a particular point of time. So if you limit your scope, probably you can identify that two-wheelers are drivers who rashly drive the vehicle. That is your hypothesis. Let me say, my hypothesis is that two-wheeler drivers are rash drivers. Okay, now? Then you start observing it. You go to a particular place, start observing it, and see that how exactly it works out. Maybe for 1 month, maybe for 3 months, observe. This is observation research, right? You are going for an observation that in this particular area, I have seen so many violations happening in a particular day. For analyzing how many, in every hour, how many violations are taking place, how many violations are taking place in a day, how many are taking in a month. So you come with an analysis, statistical analysis to that. I hope I am clear. Similarly, you are also identifying how many of them did not violate. How many were following the rules, basically. So by this, you are observing both violators as well as non-violators. Correct, na? So your study will show that violations were more or people who are following the law were more. Now that may be once again depending on another variable. You may observe that when the police is there in the circle, people are not violating the law. Normally we don't dare to violate the law, right? When the police are there in the traffic signals. Now when they are there, what is the violation which is happening? When they're not there, even though the signal is red, people are moving, right? When the red signal is shown to you, still they move. They don't stop once the red signal is there. So how many of the vehicles, how many of the drivers have passed through even though there was a red vehicle? So this can be done by an observation research. But you don't have time to do that. You may have to go for interview method or a questionnaire method. Correct? Now, then you choose the police, the people around your locality, right? Whom, for example, similarly, you are doing research in a particular institution. You have around 500 students, right? You take that as a sample. Out of 500 students, you start doing research on them, that asking questions. What is the vehicle you have? What is the speed in which you drive normally? Will you wear helmet? So such kind of interview or questionnaire method can be adopted into your research here. So by looking into the law, by looking into the questionnaire or observation research, you can come to, this is a mixed way of identifying it, and ultimately coming to the conclusion that this is the law, these are the violations, these are the people who are still following the law. Okay, I think you have heard something about BRTS road. Delhi mein hai ya nahi, pata nahi hai. We have a BRTS road in Visakhapatnam. Means only city buses should run in that particular BRTS road. In Gujarat, I think they follow very strictly. I've seen that happening in Gujarat.
Amritsar mein hai, sir. There are many cities. There are
right.
BRTC
Many cities
tracks.
are there.
Yes.
Right. Hubli mein hai. For example, in Karnataka, Hubli has BRTS road. But I have seen in Visakhapatnam, everyone is using BRTS road. And I feel sometimes we are fooled by using the proper road, not using BRTS road, because they reach early, we reach late. Now, what is this violation happening in this case? So this can be done either by interview method, questionnaire method, or your observation method. Observation method takes a lot of time. Okay, so this is the way in which you can actually culminate your research from doctrinal and non-doctrinal and come together and see that what is your result, whether law is followed or not. That's the question you have to answer in your hypothesis. Okay, that's the way in which has to be taken care of. Yes, sir. Thank you. Gitanjali, your question was on, right, very specific. I think I also have that problem, remember. Now the question is, let me take a simple example. When it comes to stock option, when I speak of share being sold in the market, stock market, I may be knowing what the law is, how to sell the share, how to buy the shares. Correct? On what price I have to sell, on what price I have to buy, probably I may not be having knowledge because I don't have the background of probable economics. When I say probable, general economics, we know. When there is a demand, supply is less. When supply is more, demand is less. Whatever economics, general principle we know. But there are mathematical calculations in economics. Now, how to measure a share value is once again a mathematical economic calculations are there for that. I may not be knowing it. Then the better way, Gitanjali ma'am, you can do is, you can identify a person who is knowing that and write together. That's the best method you can adopt in this case. Okay, because learning that thing is once again going to basics to your school days. I think our probable age may not permit to go back to that school age. So what you can do is, you can identify people who can actually know economics and yourself. For example, if you are studying in a law school, you know economics teacher will be there, sociology teacher will be there. Both of them can help you in an interdisciplinary study here. So identifying how exactly economics plays a role in buying shares. What is the value of share? How to identify the value of shares, right? What is the measure for valuing a share? I can say easily, there is something called as yield method. There is something called as market method. There are methods of share valuation, right? But I may not be able to identify the economic perspective of it. How did they measure market method? What was the measure which they took? Yield method mein kya liya unhone? That is a question mark which remains to us also as law teachers, because we may not be very specific about economic perspective here. So the better way is to go with a combined effort of doing a research. I think that's the best method. Many people do that. I have seen that happening in IIMs and IITs, where interdisciplinary studies are done with two people coming together and proceeding with research. I think that's what we can do, Gitanjali ma'am. Am I fine?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Right. Any other question?
I think we are running out of time, sir.
Okay, pa. Chalo.
Okay, we
Yes,
are. So
yes,
let's conclude our session. So very good evening, everyone. As we are concluding this enriching session, and it is my great privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of Gazette Academy and the Faculty of Law, Vivekananda Global University, Jaipur. First and the foremost, we extended our deepest gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Dr. Dhayananda Murthy, sir. Your guidance and experiences have truly inspired us to approach research with purpose and precision. We also deeply thank you, sir, for your continued support and encouragement as an advisory board member of the Academy. Your association and mentorship have been a true source of inspiration for the Academy initiative. And secondly, our heartfelt thanks to all the academicians, scholars, and the participants for your active engagements. Okay, your presence and curiosity make this 5-day journey a true collaborative and meaningful learning experience. We also acknowledge our sincere efforts of the organizing team of the Lex Gazette Academy and Faculty of Law of Vivekananda Global University. With this, we concluded this second day of our Right to Rise program. We will meet again tomorrow for our third session with Dr. Mudassir Nazir from Faculty of Law, Galgotius University. Thank you once again and have a pleasant evening ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you, SG. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.